Trusting others, according to Joseph Forgas, is second nature, but not everything we hear or see people do is useful or even true. I am Olujo Kemosako on Let's Talk, and I'm indeed saying welcome to you for always watching Let's Talk. I have with me Kemi Adesunloro. She is an international development practitioner, and the topic we'll be discussing today is I will also want you to answer that question for yourself. So the question is, how gullible can people be? So, but before we delve into the question proper, the discussion proper, I'd like to remind you to please subscribe to our YouTube channel and all other platforms. And please remember to click on the notification button so that you can get notified whenever we upload any video. Until then, please enjoy the ride with us. Thank you so much, Kemi, for coming on the show.
Thank you very much for having me.
I'm really glad to have you. Well, how gullible can people be? Could you? How gullible can people be? It sounds funny, right? But a whole lot of people are victim of such incidents. Take for instance, April Fool, many things like that we do not even know about. But I want you to explain gullibility.
I mean, there is the dictionary meaning of gullibility, and I think the question of how gullible can we be, it's all on a spectrum, and to some degree, I believe every human being is gullible. It just depends on how well you can cover things up or not. So gullibility, I would say, in its sense, it's pretty much just being susceptible to just accepting information and just being able to just accept things as they are and not really processing whatever it is. So it's like I can easily persuade you. So that's the word I'm looking for. It's being easily persuaded without necessarily fact checking or figuring out why something is the way it is. So to your question, how gullible can we be? I think the answer is it's too there isn't a quantifiable. I wouldn't say there's a quantifiable way to say how gullible can a person be, because we all are gullible to some degree. I guess the more you gain knowledge and the more you're able to process things, the less gullible you are. So that's something I would say. I can tell you, this thing X is X, and you can believe that. Or I can tell you X is X, and you want to ask me why X is X, and you want to fact check, you want to understand, the reasoning behind my saying that, rather than accepting that information just like that.
Okay, so what makes someone gullible? If we were to give more detail, because like you said, information is cheap. You get information anytime you want it. But how, like you said, processing and how easy you're able to accept it. And, going to the Bible, Paul says, fine, make sure you I don't want to use the way it is, like, whatever you hear me say or do to you, do your own research and get the best out of it. You don't just accept everything people dish out to you without making your own research. So in this instance, what makes someone gullible? I wouldn't want us to say stupid.
Well, so first of all, I would say being gullible is not stupid.
Okay.
Because at the end of the day, it's just you're not processing the information. You're just easily persuaded. So much more that it's not. And being gullible does not mean the information you're being presented with is wrong or right. It has nothing to do with that. It has something more to do with your ability to actually process that, or actually maybe not ability, because we all have the ability, but maybe your willingness and like the effort that you put into it to actually process the information. So I'm not a psychologist. I would have loved to be, but that's not the career path that I chose. But pretty much I'm not a psychologist, but my understanding is that when it comes to gullibility, like I said earlier, we all have some degree of gullibility in us, We just want to accept whatever it is. And thankfully, social media is there to
Sure.
also expand on that and, just kind of like um, feed off of, our gullibility. But generally, right, there is this notion of, how would I put it, cognitive fluency,
Mm-hmm.
right? So if something, and to explain that again, not a psychologist,
Mm-hmm.
but to explain that when something sounds, when it sounds right, we accept it.
Sure.
So if I say, I'm probably making the worst example, right now. If I say that, you know, um, I can't even think of an example right here, but if you just say something, right, you make a statement and it sounds reasonable, it sounds like those right, we accept it. So
Okay.
we base things off of our intuition rather than actually, processing that information. So rather than analyzing, we base it off of intuition just because it sounds good.
Mm-hmm.
So, like you referenced Paul just right now, in terms of, Paul said, even though I'm giving you this information, I
Mm-hmm.
know it is right, but I want you to analyze it. I want you to fact check it. I want you to understand what you're receiving and
Okay.
then make your informed decision from that.
Exactly.
It's kind of like how in the scriptures it says, know whom you've believed,
Mm-hmm.
right? I know whom I've believed. Why? Because I took time to understand the person,
Sure.
of this
The nature.
person that I'm
Yeah.
supposed to believe.
It's
But
true.
when it comes to cognitive fluency, right, and I know there have been tons of experiments, where information is being presented to people, it sounds right, and people just go with it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we don't even take time to process things anymore. I think, like I mentioned earlier, with social media, what happens now is that we take in information and we regurgitate it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, humanly speaking, like as human beings, really, we don't even make it. The decisions that we make or the information that we process is not fully ours. We are, the way I see it, we're an accumulation of the information that we've received over the course of our years. The more you receive knowledge, you begin to think this way. Oh, Plato said this thing. Socrates said this thing. Oh no, maybe this is something that Malimo said.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the day, you begin to process, you pick and choose, and we become a sum of that. But the ability to analyze something, makes a person more or less gullible.
Okay.
And not the ability itself. Again, like I said, we all have that ability, but we need to be able to, take time to do it.
Mm. So you need to take time to actually do what is necessary. You don't just jump into things. Okay, now is gullibility a personality?
Wow. I think we need to bring a psychologist.
Yeah, because I think some people are slow
Mm-hmm.
while some are proactive.
Mm-hmm.
Now, and when we talk about personality, we have the melancholy, we have the phlegmatic, and all sorts.
Mm-hmm.
Now, does it have to be because this person is melancholy? They don't quickly release things, they process things, they put in a lot,
Mm-hmm.
and by the time they explode, then it's the end.
Mm-hmm.
A whole lot, and the ones that are all out there, the outgoing kind of person, and all, you don't even know when the person is serious and when he's not.
Mm-hmm.
No, now with all of this, how would you place a gullible person
Mm-hmm.
in this? So his gullibility, is it a personality?
Wow. I think we need a psychologist, like I mentioned. But if you would put it, like I mentioned earlier, it's just we're all gullible to some degree
Okay.
because we don't process the information, we just receive, or our brain tells us, would we base things off of intuition? So our brain tells us this is okay, but we don't take time to analyze. But I would definitely say that a person's personality can affect the extent to which they can be gullible. Because if you're super hyper and you don't take time to actually sit down to process information, you just take it. You just want to have fun. I mean, this is not to shade people who do that. But when you know that you're very hyper and you don't, because for you to analyze something, you have to be you have to be at rest. You have to be able to, actually figure out the different the different information you're being presented with,
Okay.
and then you want to like analyze, see what's going on, and also in terms of personality, if someone is more patient, versus someone who is just, well, lacks patience generally, you may not be able to analyze, because to analyze takes a lot,
Okay.
really. And that's what distinguishes the people we refer to as geniuses from the people who are just regular, or the people we call stupid. It is possible for a person to become stupid because like they're gullible, because again, I feel like it's a spectrum.
Mm.
You analyze more, you're less gullible. You
Okay.
analyze less, you begin to go towards being stupid.
Mm.
That's the way that I see it. So I mean, personalities can definitely contribute the same way that our genetic makeup can also affect how we react, how we process things. They all factor in, but we can all overcome whatever it is, because even if I am a hyper person on a normal day. Well, none, not every time, but I could be. But in knowing that, I still balance it out. I'm able to sit down, I'm able to think, reflection. And, I feel like we referenced the scriptures earlier. There's a reason why God says to meditate. Meditation is a process of analyzing, it's a process of receiving that information and understanding what it is. Not just, oh, I said, you're beautiful, so you're beautiful. You are beautiful, but you want to understand. Again, that's
Thank you.
terrible. That's a terrible example. But people just say something and you just receive
and they don't mean it really.
But why? I like to, and there's something that has helped me, at least in my life, and it was something I saw a few years ago. It says to question everything and question anything.
Okay.
Because the more you do that, the more you're forced to analyze. So even if you say this thing is red, I know it is red, but why?
Okay.
You're processing, and it doesn't mean you would become a genius by processing, but you're processing that information. You're not just receiving and regurgitating it again.
Okay, so let's hold it there. We'll be right back. If you're just joining us, the program is Let's Talk on DNTWOK. And I've been discussing with Kemi Adesunloro. She is an international development practitioner. And the topic has been, how gullible can people be? And please remember to drop your comments, because it is very, very essential. So thank you, Kemi, for standing by.
Thank you.
Okay, going forward, who are the most vulnerable people in this instance?
Wow. I would say the younger generation.
Okay.
Again, I mentioned social media earlier, and how social media is a good tool, but at the same time, it could be detrimental to a person's ability to process information, because we're constantly throwing things, there are things in our faces, and people these days don't even take time to process that information. You see something trending, you jump on that
Like
bandwagon.
fake news.
Exactly. So
Someone who used someone's car to take a picture, a big house, not knowing that the person is not even living close to the gate.
Exactly, and that is like, and you said fake news just right now, and that's also like misinformation, and then there's the whole concept of disinformation. So understanding that because because the information is being presented to you from social media does not mean it's right. Even if it's trending, you want to fact check. You want to make sure, like, what are your sources? Why is this thing this way? Even if it's from CNN, it doesn't mean that it's the right information. I feel like the younger generation these days, they don't take time to process. I remember reading a book from, I think it was the very early 1900s, and this man, he builds big big equipment. They call them earth movers, right? And something wasn't working. He began to think through like the next process. I think throughout the book you could just You could hear his thought process. I mean, for me, I'm able to insert myself into the book. You can just hear his thought process of how like he would think, and all of those things. Even he didn't have as much distraction, and he used his brain. These
Okay.
days, there
Nobody.
are no.
A
If
whole
we
lot
could
of
have people to
distraction
think for
everywhere.
us, actually,
Yeah.
we'll take it. In
Mm-hmm.
this generation, in this times that we're in, we just want to use social media. We don't even want to process things. We don't want to put in the work to analyze. We don't want to put in the work
There's a
to
lot
fact
of
check.
copy and paste still. Yeah.
Exactly. Like I said, it's just you take it, you regurgitate, and it's really bad. It's really
Mm-hmm.
bad. So this generation, the newer generation, I think they would be the most susceptible to being gullible, if they're not careful.
If they're not careful, in what sense?
Again, just the information being thrown at them, and if they're unable to distinguish what is like the true information, because again, once when something trends, everyone just jumps on that bandwagon, not
Very true.
really understanding what this is. In fact, not even just our younger generation,
Okay.
our older generation as well, because they're not part of this digital age in that sense, at least not fully immersed. Well, they are, but like they're not at the center of it. You see
Okay.
how people just send you stuff on WhatsApp. They
So
don't know when the
annoying.
date, they don't know what date the video came out. It could have been a
Exactly.
video from, it could be the right information, but it's like 3 years ago. But
Mm-hmm.
now it's circulating and everybody says this thing. They don't understand who the audience of the video was actually meant
Meant
for.
for.
Things like that. And people just circulate things. Again, you feel like I mentioned earlier, there's this cognitive fluency. Like you see it and it looks right. So you
Mm.
go with it, you go with the flow.
And there are some people too, and maybe we should just quickly add this. There are some people that when they see a message on social media, the first thing is, they join the trend of people who insult. You just write all sort of nonsense. You don't think twice. At least you'll be able to wait. Why did this person do this? Why did this person do that? But some people just feel the best way to also be part of the discussion is to abuse, to insult or to judge. And that's what one of the things that's gullibility too, because you don't know. Then stop, keep quiet, and just don't be susceptible to anything. And you feel you can talk, so you say something, and right there upstairs, it makes you look foolish. Because for me, if I see something like that, it gives me a picture of who such a person is.
Absolutely. And as you just mentioned, it just made me think about just gullibility in general, right? Being gullible is not synonymous with being stupid.
Mm-hmm.
I think we said that earlier.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean a person is not smart. It's just at that time, they're easily persuaded. Because
Exactly.
sometimes we just say to people, "Oh, you're gullible," and in a negative sense. Again, it's just the ability to process. And what analysis does, for a person, you're able to see you're able to see, or at least to some degree, maybe not again perfectly, but you're able, because there's no perfection,
Of
but you're
course.
able to
The
see
point is-
different sides
Yeah.
of like
Mhm.
whatever it is. So even if you decide you want to agree with the side A of whatever you see, you're able to analyze,
Mhm.
but you're able to still see the side B, the side C, the side D, and you kind of like understand it, holistically. You understand the information, you process it, you pick and choose. Like I said, we're not human beings. We're a sum of things that we've learned over the years, of all the information that we continue to gather. So you pick and choose what you want.
Okay.
That way you pick and choose. It doesn't mean that you cannot repost or like send stuff to people, but understand what was the motive, of this video or whatever it is that you're sharing the information. Understand what value does it add to me? What value is it adding to the next person I'm sending it to? Things like that are what analysis would help a person to like figure out.
Okay.
Really.
Now let's go. The last question. Let's look at things copied from Western world by Africans or Nigerians. For example, Black Friday, 25th of 26th, right, of November is Black Friday in America. I don't know what date it is in Nigeria or other parts of the world that has been practiced. Now, how many people do you think has a knowledge, even if it's just a little bit, knowledge of what that means, and beyond just going to the store and getting things at a discounted price. We copy things. It's been gullible, really. Like, of course, yeah, there is nothing wrong in wanting to. You see something very nice out there and you want to imbibe it and use it, but did you take out time to trace the history, to trace the source, to even know, even we that buys, do we even know what it is? All we know is, oh, Black Friday, yes, I'm going to go to the store to get something at a cheaper price. But there is more to something than what you think you see on the surface. So what would you?
There's a lot to say, and I think this is a whole topic in itself. Um, but when it comes to just accepting things such as Black Friday, personally, right, with globalization, with the whole tech world, we're constantly merging into a global village. So that's a given. We assimilate other culture. But again, why are we doing this? Why are we taking on this thing? We don't seem to like think through, you know. When it comes to Black Friday, when people actually read or understand the history behind it, like it shouldn't even be a day where we rush to go buy things. First of all, before I even delve into the history, how does one on Thanksgiving, you have Thanksgiving Day, right? And the history of Thanksgiving is a different topic entirely. But then you have Thanksgiving one day. And then the next day, you're thankful for all the things you have. And then the next day, you want to go buy more things.
Mm,
Because I try to understand that, right? You're thankful.
okay.
Then you're like, I don't have enough. I want to go buy more. That's like, by the way. So when going back to the history of Black Friday, right? Historically, during the whole slavery period in America, Black Friday after Thanksgiving, slaves were sold at a discounted price. They were auctioned at a discount. And that's like the history of Black Friday. It's like you get discounts after the day after Thanksgiving. You could go purchase a human being at a
Wow.
discount. And now going back, I get it. People say, "Oh, but that was back then." History would always repeat itself, anyways. But this is now. This is now. Capitalism has capitalized on that whole, Black Friday thing where they supposedly discount the products.
Right.
It's supposedly the biggest sale of the year.
Okay.
But if I were to tell you that isn't the biggest sale of the year, would you believe me? It's psychology. I personally believe that Black Friday is a social experiment that
Wow.
has turned into a major, thing now. Because at the end of the day, if you actually look, if you pay attention, pick one store. You could do that next year. Pick one store, study them, study the pattern of their sales. From January to December, you would actually realize that they don't have a lot of sales during Black Friday. Stores have more of their sales during the semi-annual sales. They have at intervals. There's this store that I shop from often. I like good things, and it's not like don't have good things, right? I looked at the store, I think earlier in the summer, and they had a lot of discounts actually. I got a few things. But then, coming back to Black Friday, I was just like, let me look at what they have because I wanted to see is it truly like this the biggest sale of the year, and let me tell you that they had lesser sale than they did over the summer.
Wow.
So I do have people who've worked in retail, and
Okay.
here's like again, I did my own analysis, my own understanding. My gullible to some extent, probably, but when it comes to sales, right? They mark up the price at some point, and you can read about this. There's been research on it actually. They mark up the prices at some point. Our brain, the moment you see something on a wall, on a show glass, why do you think they write things in like bold letters and red? Your brain picks that color first. You see something that says 60% off, you're so excited. Just because something was say $80 and now you feel like it's $40 because we're doing the biggest sale of the year. You don't even think to see is $80 the actual price? Is this worth this merchandise? And then you just go ahead because you've seen that old red tag. Your brain actually processes that red tag not the actual price. So people are like, oh, it's a markdown. Let me buy it before it goes back to 80%. But that's not true.
Okay.
That's how, well, again, you could go read about and understand how these people commercialize. Why, think about it. Why on earth would a business person, where I'm trying to make money, why on earth would I sell off all of my merchandise at like 50% off when I'm clearly not making money from it? Does that even make sense? You know, I mean, they do have promotions and things like that, but is that financially, wise for me to let go of my products because I'm trying to get
And yet,
people to come?
maybe for them, they might think, okay, if this goes out quickly, I can get something in. We now know the history. Me now, I know the history. I did not know it before. But thank God those days are gone, right? And now is to buy something more. But the other people that are practicing it, are you really sure that the prices are low? I wish you could continue, but we're actually taking too long as we're really, really ran out of time. So, Kemi, do you have a final word?
Again, being gullible is not being stupid.
So we're not stupid, right? For saying 60% off, what's to jump into
actually,
it?
the
Thank you.
stores have a lot of sales, and it's just, again, like I said, some stores have their sales more than it's usually, well, depending on the store, usually at their mid sale, and all of those things, rather than the Black Friday. But then it's been processed as psychological now, and like you said earlier, other countries are adopting this. Nigeria, for example. At the end of the day, I'm not saying something is right or wrong. You should decide that. You should decide what you feel is right to you based on your values. Know what is wrong to you. But take time to actually analyze whatever it is that you're receiving as much as possible. Sometimes, you know how like you're in a rush to get out of the house, that you just pick everything. You just, zoom out of the house, right? Because you're running late. Sometimes it's like that. We're unable to process the information because we need the information in that instant, right? Sometimes it's like that, and that's okay. But don't make it a habit where every little thing that is said to you, you just take it and then you just regurgitate.
All right. Thank you so much, Kemi. It's wonderful having you on the show. Like she rightly said, don't take everything hook, line, and sinker. Learn to process it. Learn to pick the one that is best. Not everything is good for you, and not everything should be done. Until next time, when I come your way again with another exciting topic. Yes, I remain Oluja Kemusako. Bye for now.